MoneyMax Monday video. Today we're going to continue our series about how to spend less without enjoying less. Today we're going to look at shopping. So, if you were to look at your MoneyMax budget planner, which is available to download for free at moneymaxuk.org/downloads, you would see that one of the biggest spends over the year will be on food and grocery shopping. So if you spend just £90 a week on food and drink and bath products and kitchen products and cleaning products and these kinds of things, that's £4,700 a year. And for many people this will rival what they spend on rent or mortgage. But unlike rent and mortgage, this is an area which is much easier to adjust what we're spending on. Now, is this a good idea? No, I don't think so either, but hundreds of thousands of people across the UK are doing this every single year. A report came out earlier this year from the Waste and Resources Action Programme, which found that in the UK we throw away 7.3 million tonnes of edible food a year. This costs us around £13 billion. Now, this means that on average each household is throwing away £470 worth of edible food every single year. Now, this figure is roughly 10% of what we would spend on food over a year if we were to spend £90 a week. And so the first way we can reduce our costs when it comes to food and shopping and groceries is to simply throw less food away. This is easier said than done, but there's a number of things that we can do, a number of habits we can change in order to achieve this. Firstly, do a meal plan before you go shopping and stick to it. Buy what you intend to use that week and try to stay away from impulse buys. Measure out foods like pasta and rice rather than guessing. This eliminates waste. Freeze or store leftover foods and have a leftovers night now and then. Also, something I found is don't go shopping when you're hungry. This just tempts you to buy things that you think, I'd like to eat that. But you don't mean I'd like to eat that at some point this week. You mean I'd like to eat that now, so I'll buy it. But it was never in your meal plan and therefore might end up going in the bin. Look at the foods that you regularly throw in the bin. What's in there? Is it a bag of salad that never got opened? Is it mushrooms that are sprouting new mushrooms? Is it expired meat? Is it old milk? Look at what ends up in the bin and then adjust what you're cooking or what you're buying so that it either gets eaten or doesn't get bought at all. Ask yourself honestly what percentage of foods we buy end up not getting eaten. If you throw away 20% of a £90 weekly shop, over a year you're figuratively burning £936. What could you do with that £936? If you'd saved it rather than binned it, you'd be almost £1,000 a year better off. What could you do with that money? Now, the second way we can save some cash on our shopping is by looking at the types of goods that we buy. What types of food and groceries are we actually buying? So broadly speaking, there are 4 types of food and groceries. Premium, branded, own brand, and value. Now, what you can do in order to establish what the right type of food for you is to do a blind taste test. This can be quite fun. If you can't tell the difference between these 4 different types of beans without looking, then buy the cheapest one. Sometimes we lull ourselves into thinking that the most expensive brand must therefore surely be the best. But if our tongue can't tell the difference, if our tongue thinks that this one is just as good as this one, then maybe we should trust our taste buds and not what advertisers and supermarkets would like to have us believe. However, even if you do the blind taste test and you conclude that this one is in fact better than that one, it's 3 times the cost. Is it 3 times better? Ask yourself these questions honestly. Whatever the answer is, trust your tongue. Now, if we were to spend our £90 a week shopping at Sainsbury's, for example, and bought exclusively branded items, we could reduce our weekly spend to £53.10 by shifting to Sainsbury's own brand. And over a year, this would be more than £1,900. So ask yourself, is this difference worth that £1,900? So you could challenge yourself to, for 1 week, buy one type cheaper than you would normally buy and see if there's any noticeable difference in taste. And if there's not, stick with a cheaper option. Alternatively, you could just shop at a different supermarket. If you currently shop at Waitrose and you were to swap to Asda, for example, you're more than likely going to make a saving because of the emphasis that these two different shops have. Waitrose, for example, prides itself on a certain quality of item and of making the whole shopping experience as pleasant as possible. Asda, on the other hand, goes for a more cheap and cheerful approach. But both of these have their charms, and if you prefer to shop at Waitrose, that's absolutely fine. But remember that the Waitrose experience comes with a cost that the Asda experience does not. If you're happy to pay that cost, brilliant, go for it. If you'd rather spend what that costs on something else, also brilliant. But either way, make the choice. There are, of course, a growing number of budget supermarkets which offer substantial discounts over their rivals. Aldi and Lidl, for example, regularly boast savings of up to 20, 30, sometimes 40% over the big four supermarkets. Again, do a week's shopping in a different supermarket and then eat as you would normally for that week. Then, assess whether you can tell the difference in terms of taste and or quality, and if you can't, stick with a cheaper supermarket. And if you do notice a difference, ask yourself whether the difference in taste is worth the difference in price and act accordingly. Also, if you were to shop in the evening, you might be able to take advantage of the supermarket's reduction policy. Many shops will reduce the price of foods that are going to pass the best before date by the end of that day, and so you can grab some real bargains, although it has to be said they do tend to fly off the shelves at a cracking pace, so you've got to be quick. But remember, you can freeze many items like bread and meat, so if you aren't going to use it that day, but you will use it at some point in the future, it might still be worth taking advantage of those reductions. One last word on supermarkets. Make sure you're taking advantage of any of rewards point schemes that these places might offer, because the places that offer point schemes will factor in the cost of their points into their prices. And so if you're not taking advantage of those, you could be overpaying by 1, 2 or 3%, depending on where you shop. So just make sure that you're getting your points and you're spending them. Now, when you are shopping, you can save money by buying more. Now, this might seem counterintuitive, but bulk buying can dramatically reduce the cost per item so that you end up spending less over the course of a month or a year. Let me give you an example. If 6 sausages would cost you £5, you might choose to buy them. But if you could get 18 sausages for £10, obviously you're spending twice as much, but you're getting more than twice as many sausages. You're getting actually 50% more sausages per pound. So, if you were to buy the 18 sausages for £10, that would make each sausage 56 pence. But if you were to just buy the 6 sausages for £5, each sausage would be 83 pence. So if you regularly eat sausages, it would make more sense to spend £10 once every 3 weeks and freeze the sausages you're not eating in that current week, rather than spend £5 a week on the same product. You will spend more in week 1, but less over the course of a month or a year. You can, of course, make large quantities of food and then freeze what you don't use immediately, thereby spreading the cost and maxing your money in terms of what you're going to cook. Finally, some people prefer to buy their fruit and veg from smaller, independent local retailers such as a greengrocer or a farmer's market. And as these places often get their produce straight from a farm, they can cut out the middleman and offer you some great deals. They also tend to have a focus on seasonal foods, which are being harvested at the moment, and as such they have a motivation to make these sell quicker and so will reduce the cost. So buying strawberries in the summer, you will find they cost less than in the winter because they are being grown in the UK at that time. And on a side note, I often find that the quality and taste of fruit and veg from a greengrocer's is unsurpassed by any supermarket, and the combined happiness of tasty food and the best price is difficult to top. That's it for today. I hope that now you have a few more tools so that you can enjoy your food just as much but spend less money on it. How have you cut costs on your food? Leave a comment in the section below, or if you have any other questions or requests for videos you'd like to see, then put those below as well. Next Monday we're going to be looking at ways in which you can save money around the house, so I'll see you next week.